It's your Locked On Flyers podcast for Friday, October 21st. Your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that, I don't know, Russ, man, this whole back-to-back thing, again, so close. Do not like it. Do not
Yeah,
like it at all.
yeah, I don't love this year's schedule for any team.
All right, well, we'll get into that back-to-back on today's show.
Your Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello again. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here with the curmudgeonly sometimes Russ Cohen, who's on Twitter at Sportsology. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You'll keep up to date on all the latest Flyers news and our episodes. You can also email the show at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. We are going to talk about that back-to-back this weekend against the Preds on the road and then the Sharks at home. We are going to talk a little bit more. We started this yesterday, but a little more about, the A's on the jerseys and the who, what, why of that. And the reverse retros came out, and definitely want to talk about those, especially what the Flyers did that absolutely got to me. Locked On Flyers is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you're listening right now. Hit that subscribe button so you can get all of our episodes. We're also over on YouTube, so you can watch us there as well. Russ, I'm a sucker for the Cooperalls. I gotta say it.
It's funny. Back in the day, I was not in the market, so being in New York, we used to kind of laugh at them. But I do also understand how all these years later, because people haven't seen them, that it's going to be a thing. So, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, I think that, everybody is always so focused on the jerseys and what they're going to be. And we're going to talk about that and pick out a couple other of our favorites. But I think that there's so much more to some of the style and the design that has happened over the years in the NHL. And I just appreciate that the Flyers drew from that history
hmm
and didn't just focus on the jerseys, because the Flyers jerseys are pretty classic, and every time they've tried to mess with it in any significant way, it's been bad.
Yeah.
There was that weird silvery
Oh,
logo
yeah.
thing that they did once. Some people like the black jerseys and some people don't.
Oh, there's
Depends on.
strong reactions both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, there are, and I get that because, orange is the team's primary color, so to have a jersey that doesn't have orange as the primary color seems off in some ways. There's the people that wanna do those old Quakers jerseys, there's people
Yeah.
that wanna bring that one-off teal design that was out there for a
There was that
while.
fake jailbreak one that people
Yeah,
bought a lot of.
yeah, so I think that, the fact that they took an existing jersey, reversed it, like an
hmm
older jersey, and literally reversed it, that did the job. There's slight differences, with the sleeves and
Yeah.
stuff, but, so it's a white version of that black jersey with the orange on the sleeves. I think it's fine. I like it. I think it's pretty sharp, but it's nothing mind-blowingly creative, right? But I think with the Flyers
I mean, it's more
jersey,
creative than the Senators. I barely
well,
noticed anything from them.
yeah, yeah, but I think the Cooperalls just, makes everything because it's something unique to Flyers history. I mean, I think it was the Oilers or no, it was the Whalers. It was the Whalers that was the other team that did it.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch in warm-ups. There's no way the league would ever have allowed it for
No.
in game. We know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, no, it would have been a mess, but I'm very excited to watch them skate out in these.
Mhm.
I hope they have some available for like charity auctions or something, like game worn Cooperalls from the current team. I think that would be a lot of fun. And I hope they sell them because I would pay good money for
Yeah,
them.
just and you know what? Throw like Tim Kerr in there for warm-ups and not tell anybody, let him be a
Oh
part of
my
the team.
God.
That'd be hilarious, right?
I would absolutely love that. And
It would be funny.
everybody, yeah, everybody in number 12s, and some people could be Simone Gagne, some people
Right.
could be Michael Raffle. We could
Yeah,
just, like, mix it in there as well. That would
be
be
great.
fantastic, yeah. So the first time we're supposed to see those is, Tuesday, November 8th versus the Blues. So very much looking forward to that. There's a bunch of dates over the season. You can look them up on the Flyers website. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. As far as the other standouts in the league, you mentioned you did not like the Ottawa one. I tend to agree with you. Was there
Yeah.
one that stood out to you the most?
To like or dislike?
Like,
To like, I'm gonna disqualify myself from the Ranger one because I own a Liberty one because Mike Richter wore it. Like, I mean, even
mhm.
people in Pennsylvania could get behind that. But I'm gonna give it to the Florida Panthers because it makes me think of Pavel Bore, and
Oh, yeah.
I remember him on a trading card with that jersey, and he scored like maybe 60 goals for them in that logo, and so I like what the Panthers did.
Yeah, the palm tree hockey stick logo is the only Florida Panthers look that I have ever liked. I didn't like their original logo. I don't like their current logo. I would never buy any of that merch. I would put money down on this jersey they
Yeah, this
just
is a
put
nice
out.
jersey. It
Yeah,
is. The Dallas Stars one is nice. It's kind of classy. I think that's good. The Islander one, it's just so crazy, right? Like
I love the
nobody
fisherman. I love it.
nobody liked it back in the day, though. Nobody. It was
Oh,
a,
I
it was a
get it.
joke. Everybody made a joke. Flyers fans made a joke of it. Islanders fans, Ranger fans, everybody made a joke of it. But I get it. It's kind of like the Kramer, like the picture. You know how they used to say it's grotesque, but I can't look away. It's like that.
Yep. Yeah, I absolutely love that design. I think the Arizona Coyotes one is fantastic
Very
with
nice. Yeah, actually,
cacti at the bottom of it. I
I
think it's
liked it.
really cool.
It may have been the best one I've ever seen from them.
Yeah, I think, the Kachina, I think, is, like, the pinnacle of hockey jerseys, I gotta say, but it comes pretty close.
Yeah.
I also really like the Ducks one because I like the Mighty Ducks look, although we were talking about this beforehand, I like it better when they did it in eggplant for the anniversary edition of it than, like, the current colors, but, nonetheless, I like the Mighty Duck
I
design.
hate it. It's the failure of the name, the Mighty Ducks, the failure of Emilio Estevez in his career. Go look up Men at Work, where he did with Charlie Sheen. They were both garbage men. Whoever wrote that script, man, it
They
just
got paid.
they did get paid. There's nothing in my eyes to like it. The only thing I'll say is I actually know the former CFO of the Anaheim Ducks. I went to school with his wife, and so I'll be nice to the Ducks. Like I'll draw the line there, and that's where I'll end it. But I do not like it.
As far as ones I didn't like the Detroit and Chicago ones that were just
The
stripy.
Detroit one's just ugly,
Yeah, they're just, like, boring striped,
boring.
so
Yeah,
not much going on there, but lots to talk about with those. Let us know your favorite reverse retros out there and what you think of the Cooperalls. I wanna quickly get to, a side note from the Lucas Sedlak acquisition via waivers. I think Colorado needed a body in place of that, so they claimed Dryden Hunt from the New York Rangers, which
who's a
I think.
better player? That's an upgrade.
Yeah, but I also just as a petty person, I'm glad that the Rangers lost somebody because the Flyers did something.
They were just trying to get cap compliant. The Rangers, like they
I
had to do it,
know. I
but
know, but it just all comes back and I'm petty
sure.
about the Rangers.
But that's
So
an
there you
upgrade for
go.
Colorado. Like they were smart about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. They were. Um, we did talk yesterday a little bit about the Flyers' lack of a captain. We talked about
Mhm.
Scott Laughton being the only one to wear an A. And I want to get into that a little bit more. And we will do that coming up after we talk about Bet Online.
BetOnline.net's your number one source for all your football betting needs this season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news and podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on every game you could find. As always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including the MLB playoffs, MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet online where the game starts.
The season is in full swing, and so is Locked On's Game to Game NHL. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every hockey game from across the NHL with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. You can follow Game to Game on the Locked On NHL channel, which is available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Russ, we talked yesterday about Scott Laughton being the only one to wear an A so far this season, and how we thought maybe there would be some more rotation on that. I theorized that maybe he would have given it to Cam Atkinson if he was playing at this time. But I do think that it would like behoove him to let some other people wear it and give them a chance to show that they deserve it. And there's definitely been some players who have stepped up and maybe could.
Yeah, I think there's players that could. The question is, why is a coach sort of using this as currency? Like, to me, it shouldn't be about that. Like, if you really think that Scott Laughton is the only guy worthy of an A after all of training camp and these first 4 games, you need to look again as a coach. I just, I don't understand the thinking. I'm sure Lawton's not thrilled with it. I'm sure he's happy that he has one, but I'm sure he's like, it's
Probably
weird for him too.
isolating, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't get it. It does isolate him. That's a great word.
Yeah, I think that it puts a weird spotlight on him, that they're trying to create this team mentality and us against the world because of, lowered expectations and all of that. And I just think that it's not fair to Scott Laughton. They should at least have one other person who's wearing it. Maybe there's a forward and a defenseman, like you had suggested. Ivan Provorov
He's
should
played
have it.
great.
He has played great, and I think he's just leading by example out there. Like, he's not a words guy, he's a play
No.
guy.
Yeah.
And so I think that he would be a really great option. I think Travis Konechny would be a really
He'd
great
be a terrific option.
Yeah, and so I'm hoping that we get some more guys in A's just to kind of spread the wealth a little bit, but, as a reward and to make Scott Laughton feel less like the cheese standing alone, right?
Yeah, I mean, but so far he hasn't, which again, I've never seen this, so I don't understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't either. Well, of course, I just said cheese, which makes me think of the color yellow, which makes me think of the Nashville Predators. How about that transition, Russ?
Love it.
Okay. We are, of course, facing the Nashville Predators on Saturday and then the San Jose Sharks on Sunday. Nashville Predators are a real interesting case study this season. It's kind of fascinating what's going on with them. And there, I think, are a little bit of echoes of the Flyers from last season in both the Preds and the Sharks. But with the Preds specifically, they won that back-to-back global series against those very San Jose Sharks pretty handily, and then came home and just have not been able to scrape together an effective game and a win. They lost 2 games against the Stars. They most recently lost to the LA Kings in a shootout after blowing a lead. They did play Columbus last night. We're recording before we know the results of that game, so maybe they turned it around and won. But I think that they've been having some serious problems with cohesiveness on that team.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Nashville, the minute guys put on that jersey in Nashville, they can't score. Clearly, it doesn't hold that way overseas. But it just seems that way, and I don't get it. I didn't pick them for the playoffs, but I think they're like a playoff bubble team. And I don't love UC Soros as a goalie, but he's certainly a good goalie. I just don't think he's a great goalie. But
Well,
yeah,
he's been having some problems recently, and
and it doesn't shock me.
he's allowed at least 3 goals in his last 3 starts, and so
Yeah,
it makes me wonder whether or not we're gonna see him against the Flyers.
I don't think we will. I think we'll see Lankinen, but yeah, I'm not a big Soros guy, so that none of that shocks me. But I was at least giving him the benefit of the doubt for now. But I'm not. That's the reason I didn't pick him for the playoffs, because I don't think he's going to lead them there. But as far as the team, I mean, they're a big tough team. They do have a lot of young scorers. Ili Tovinen is one of them. Their defense is still pretty damn good. Roman Josi is superhuman, so they do have that going for them. Duchesne's still a really good player. Last year he had a bounce back. I mean, they
Mhm.
still have enough there. I like Philip Tomasino, another young player who's really good. But yeah, it's strange that they're going to struggle, and maybe this is going to end up costing John Hines in the end. They've been going through coaches like crazy there. I don't know. Ryan McDonough got added. Ryan McDonough is going to do well against the Flyers. It's almost a given.
Of course.
That's even though he is a little bit longer in the tooth and a little bit more beat up. I watched him the other day. He's still very effective. He's just not the same like maybe 3 years ago. But he's still going to cause problems. This is a team where they're going to come in and they're going to welcome that tough game. They're going to welcome the toughness. And here's the thing that really confused me with Torts. He said Zach McEwen needs to score more. Has he ever watched Zach McEwen like at any length of time, for any length of time? Is he really expecting scoring out of him?
I don't know, man. I think that that's an issue of a coach really not understanding who he has yet.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about John Hines though with Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
he has been kind of under the hot seat a little bit recently. And
Yeah.
I was talking about that game against the Kings where they lost in a shootout. A big problem with that game for Nashville was staying out of the box. They had 9 penalties in
Yeah.
that game. 6 of those 9 were committed in the offensive zone or the neutral zone. So it wasn't
Oof.
even like defensive zone, we've got to prevent a goals kind
Right.
of penalties. This was like big mistakes. And I think that when you're comparing Hines and the Pred style of play to Torts and his demands for aggressiveness, you have like an interesting comparison there, because I think that Torts likes that aggressive style of play, but isn't going to let his players cross the line unless he absolutely needs them to for momentum changes or whatever. Like if he sees you do it as a mistake, he's going to call you out as a player for it. But Hines is just like struggling with this. Like his players don't know what they're doing and he can't figure out
Yeah.
how to make it better. Right.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're going to fall back on the physical part, and maybe this turns into like that Flyers Ottawa game years ago that I missed that had like I don't know
Oh
100
God.
something penalty minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder, like, can the Flyers take advantage of this on the power play? And, while they
Yeah, if
have
they
scored
actually practice it, maybe. Do you get?
yeah.
Let me ask you this basic question. And again, I've been busy. I haven't been to practice, but there's no way they could be practicing the power play at great length with the way that it looks when they're in game.
I don't know either because I haven't been there myself, but they definitely should be. That's for sure. It is weird because, again, they are scoring a power play goal a game
Yeah,
so
one,
far,
but they're getting 5 in
but
some of these games.
yeah, they're just getting too many opportunities to not score more than one. And
Correct.
while they're out there, it feels like they're doing well for that, 5 to 10 seconds that gets them that goal. But what they're getting the rest of the time out there on the power play isn't quite as good. And so if the Preds can take a lot of penalties again, that would be great. So the
I
Flyers
mean,
can
the
get more
Preds are
practice.
with
And we can
Yossi and
get
everything.
power play 2 out there.
Yeah. Oh, well, does power play 2 even exist, or is that in our minds? I don't know. But Roman Yossi out there is certainly going to create odd man chances for as many as they got. So they're going to get Duchesne too if he's out there on the PK. They have some fast guys that are going to create that. So that's something the Flyers have to be very careful of and really mindful of.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think that this game in Nashville, it could go south, like you said, pretty quickly with the
Hmm.
physical play. But if the Preds are as messy as they have been and couldn't get it together against Columbus and are going into this game, tired and still a little discombobulated, the Flyers could take advantage of that.
I mean, that's assuming they don't fall behind early on like they have in every one of these other games. Like, that's a weird thing that's happening, and I get it. They've battled back, to win some of them, but not the last one. Like, that kind of stuff, never lasts. And you would think we would see quotes or hear quotes from John saying that, listen, we can't be playing from behind like this. But I haven't heard enough about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen all of what he said, but at the same time, I think that, creating and establishing leads to him is maybe the next step in terms of priorities, in terms of playing the right way, whatever that means. He wants them to play the right way first, and then he'll
Yeah, the
demand,
standard. He wants the
you
standard the
know?
way he wants it, and fine. I mean, you might be right on that, but it's like, so you're going to go through, like, I don't know, the first 10 games being playing from behind in all 10? Like, that would be bad if that happens.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Well, the Flyers do have another opponent this weekend. It is the San Jose Sharks, and we will talk about them coming up next. Russ, we could have an interesting situation with the game on Sunday against the San Jose Sharks because, as of recording, they have lost all 5 games of
Yeah.
their season so far. They played the Rangers last night. Don't know the results of that game, but we can maybe guess that the Rangers will win that one.
Hmm.
And
Although
so,
David Quinn's going to try real hard to beat his former team, though. He is.
yes, he is. He absolutely is. And so I think there's some of that factor there, but the Sharks could be coming into Philadelphia as a winless team and see the Flyers as an opportunity to turn that around.
Yeah. Oscar Lindblom will certainly try and do his best against his former
Uh,
team, which is going to hurt a lot of people. Uh,
that's going to be a moment. I know there's going to
oh,
be a
yeah.
tribute, and it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
like murder me inside
Be
very much.
prepared. Nick Bonino on the wing, I don't get. He's a very effective
Mm.
center. I don't, but again, they're trying to create more offense. So that's an interesting one. I like their top line. I've always liked Luke Cunnin, and I think he could be good. Sturm is always a guy who's tricky. They have some guys. Timo Meyer is terrific. Hurdle's terrific. I mean, so they still have some offensive guys. Look, Erik Karlsson's still Erik Karlsson. He may not be great anymore, but he's still pretty effective. And Ferraro is a guy that can very much surprise you. So this is still a team, even though they're defeated. And again, they may have finally gotten their first win. We don't know, but this is a team that at home is going to really put it on. And the fact that it's on the end of a back-to-back for the Flyers, I think it'll be challenging at the beginning of that game for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things the Flyers could take advantage of is that, interestingly, both the Preds and the Sharks are 2 of the worst 3 teams in the league so far on the power play. The Sharks were at 5.3% before last night's game and have allowed 2 shorthanded goals, and obviously that's something that the Flyers are doing on the
Yeah,
PK. There's a little glimmer there of something they could take advantage of. And the Sharks are actually in the negative when it comes to goals on the power play.
which
They
is
just,
hard to do.
I know and it's early yet, but
Yes.
still, it's even early. That's hard to do. Um, but the Sharks also have not allowed a goal yet when shorthanded, so their PK is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, they do have some fast and talented guys. Carlson probably still on the PK for them. But I just, you look at this game and you figure at home, the Shark Tank's never an easy place to win in, just in general. And so I think this, if I'm Torts, I'm like, this is the game we have to get the lead in. Like
Well,
we
this
have
is
to.
at home for the
Oh,
Flyers.
this one's at home. That's right. Yeah, this is what. That's right. The Phillies are playing that day. I forget. My mind slipped on that one. Yeah. So at home, it'll be a little different. It'll be one of those that the Flyers certainly should be able to take advantage of. Sunday night games, I don't know. Energy wise, I do worry about that a little bit from any team. I think Sunday night games are just brutal.
I get it. It's just like an awkward time to do anything.
It is. And so you do wonder, uh, and again, you hope the Flyers don't get distracted by the Phillies and what's going on there. I'm sure once they close the door to the locker room, they'll be fine. But, again, those Sunday night games, I don't love it for energy's sake. And so we'll see. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fans there because of what's going on with the Phillies. This could be one of the worst attended games the Flyers have had in the last 5 years. They may have a certain amount of tickets sold, but as far as people actually showing, it's not going to be good.
Well, I think, on the ice, there are some other things that the Flyers really need to focus on. I think that one of the things the Sharks have been able to do well is score off like set plays off of a draw. And so I think that the Flyers are going to have to pay close attention to that and really work defensively to not allow those set plays to happen against them in this game against the Sharks. And I think that, again, they're going to have to try and match some speed here. That I know like the Sharks are a little older in some areas, but I think that they do still have some guys with speed and Hurdle. Like, man, I love watching him play.
Yeah, he's really good. I do wonder, they do have some slower guys, no doubt. Their bottom six is not going to be as fast as their top six, but I do wonder if the Flyers can win D zone draws because they're not doing great on that, and so that's something where we have to see how they do with that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really important, to your point, especially because their faceoffs have not been great so far. So,
and you kind of wonder about that. Like for all the things they've kind of been working on in camp, that's definitely one of them that it seems to have slipped through the cracks.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting weekend, but I certainly hope that the Flyers can get some points out of it and continue at least a lot of the positive things that they have been doing. I know we've been focusing on, what the Preds and Sharks are up to, but the Flyers have done some really good things. And in terms of, some plays, they've had some players stand out like Konechny, like Lawton. And I think that, the getting the defense activated and continuing that, but also being responsibly defensive as well. I think that'll be a huge part of the weekend, but
this could be the game that said, this could be the game that Sedlak gets in instead of like Lisinski. So that's, I'm going to be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, I think that's an important point as well. See where he slots in the lineup. But Russ, you did mention the Phillies game, and that is our Flyers fun thing in that the Flyers said they're going to open the Wells Fargo Center early on Sunday. So if you don't have tickets to the Phillies game, you can come, and you have tickets to the Flyers game, you can come early. They'll have, the game on big screens. You can get cheap food and drinks in the food hall there. So you can make a day of it and watch the Phillies and hang out.
It's not a bad move.
Yeah.
I could tell you back in the day, when the New York Nets, this is back when Dr. J was in the ABA, they were going through their championship run. We were watching the Islanders too. They rolled in some TVs and we were watching like Islanders Sabres. I think it was after the game. So it was really good. So I appreciate that as a sports fan. I'll go and do that.
Yeah. There's a lot of fun, like doubleheader kind of things like that.
Yes.
The teams can do, and hopefully it goes well for the Flyers and the Phillies this weekend. Fingers crossed. We will be back on Monday. We will recap those two games. We'll have our nemesis,
not the Phillies game
week. Well, yes, the Preds and Sharks game. But We do have our friends over at Locked On Phillies for that purpose. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. Send in your questions via Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail.com. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
You made us your first listen today. Now make your second listen to Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone bring you the fantasy edge and keep you ahead of the competition with daily updates of news, analysis, and advice Monday through Friday. It's available on YouTube, Odyssey, or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great weekend, everyone.